Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to do a hashtag of my own. I have 10 questions, and I think I'm going to call this How Do You Tarot? So I want to talk a little bit about what I use, how I use it, things like that. Okay, let's just get right into it. So the first question is, what do you like about tarot? For me, tarot is a very visual thing, and I'm a very visual person, which is also why I work as a videographer, because pictures, images of all kinds, that's like part of my language. I love expressing myself through pictures, and I love looking at artwork. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter where someone is from, like what language they speak, pictures are a universal language, and they are easy to understand, going all the way back to the cave paintings. And so that's one aspect that I really love about this, that this is one language that can be spoken all over the world. And with those pictures, we can understand things. And so even creators from everywhere can use that and put their own cultural influences into the decks, which also makes it really interesting and fun to learn about other cultures through artwork. And yeah, and what I like about reading tarot is that it always gives me additional insight into something, and it helps me to understand things better, not just by what's actually in the cards, but also my reaction to the cards. For example, if I want to know what's going on with myself and I do a reading and I totally don't agree with the cards, then that's an answer too. Like I work with everything, all the emotions that come up during the reading. So yeah, it just, tarot for me helps me to better understand the big picture moments, so to speak. Okay, question number 2. What do you use it for? I got a cat hair in my face. Okay, so I use tarot for different things. Currently, I use it a lot to study tarot and Kabbalah and things like that. I also use it for psychological aspects, like with the archetypes, and yeah, to understand behavior better. I also use it, for example, for my year ahead readings, which I tend to do more on Halloween than towards the end of the year. But sometimes I do clarifications on the year ahead reading that I did on Halloween. And then during Christmas and January 6th, in those 12 nights here in Germany, each night symbolizes 1 month in the upcoming year. And so I would sometimes go back to my year ahead reading and take each card from each month and then do like an additional reading on that particular card with a different deck to get additional information, for example. And something that I also do with my decks, with some of the decks that I have, past life readings to work on things that relate back to my life now, because I do believe in karma. And if something might not work out in my life right now, it's really interesting to look into past lives if that would come up in a reading in another life. And so maybe that is something that I have not yet completed, that I still need to work on to resolve this kind of karma, or maybe even past life trauma. And so that really helps me to also understand myself better. Question number 3, what is your go-to workhorse deck, the one that you can read with no matter what, and why? So for me, my workhorse deck is the Haunted House Tarot by Sasha Graham, and I got this deck in the summer of 2020, but I didn't start using it until like Halloween 2020, and ever since then I haven't been able to put it down. I just love the artwork in this, and it's different from other decks that I have. You can also see the very typical RWS things in here. And there's also something about the way that she designed this deck that I find really interesting, because certain characters appear in more than one card. For example, the Knight of Pentacles is also the same guy that appears in the Ten of Cups. Or the Page of Cups is also the person that appears here in the Three of Pentacles. And so that kind of design and this concept behind it, I find that really intriguing, that the people in the deck are actually connected, that it's not just one person leading through the deck, Raven in this case, the woman, but that this is one closed world and that all the people actually interact with each other. I really like that. And the images always give me something to work with. I also write on the cards, so I don't know if you can see that, but I have like writing everywhere whenever I have something interesting that I find about a card. Like I have it written here everywhere. Then I just take notes directly on the cards and therefore turn this into a tarot journal in a way that I also work with, because I'm not really into journaling on paper too much. So this is the best way for me to do it. And something that is also a bonus, if I travel and I take this deck with me, I don't have to worry about taking a guidebook or anything with me in case I ever have like a blank moment and I can't remember anything. Everything is written here on the cards, just in case. Okay, next question. Number 4, what is for you personally the most difficult deck to work with and why? I have 2 decks as an example for this category. One is the Barbieri Tarot, and even though I really love the artwork, the problem with this one is that it is pre-existing artwork. So it has been matched to the cards, but it hasn't been created for these kind of things. So in some cases, they don't make too much sense to me, and they don't really speak to me, since it is pre-existing artwork that hasn't been designed specifically for tarot. For me, it's also missing like typical symbols that I would find in cards that have been created specifically as a tarot deck. And this is just not in here. So I can kind of, like, when I use this deck, I usually just look at the images and go with what I see in the picture, kind of like an oracle deck. And I don't really go too much with the actual card position or the number, the suit, whatever. And yeah, that's, for me, working with this as a tarot deck, kind of difficult. And another one is the Prism Tarot. This one is very pretty, and I really like the artwork on it. It has these pastel colors, and everything is with these like white outlines, kind of, so it's not really too harsh. And the colors, the rainbow colors here, are supposed to represent the chakra system. But for some reason, even though I know about the chakra system, but like combining this with these cards and to have like multiple colors, like in this one, it's like 3, 4 different chakras in here. And that makes it a little bit difficult for me to read with. Like here we have yellow, green, and blue. Or here we have yellow, orange, and purple. So that, like the many different colors and the different chakras, that's still what's making this a little bit difficult for me. So I hope at some point that I will find a way to work with this. There was actually a moment when I was thinking of maybe rehoming it, but I am going to give this another chance to see if studying more about the chakra system, maybe I can find some way of integrating that besides just using the normal card meanings. And I mean, it is nice that it has all the astrological symbols on it. But yeah, with the whole chakra thing, which is the whole point of this deck, as of now, I don't really feel too comfortable with it. I don't know. Okay, number 5. Which deck or decks do you want to study in depth but haven't gotten around to do it just yet? For that, I have a few examples here. After the Tarot Brunch at the Round Table series is finished, which will maybe be in late February, I don't know. The next series that I'm going to do, well, I'm actually going to continue, is the Lover's Path series. I have started this in 2019. And then with all of the lockdown stuff, I haven't continued, even though I had filmed I filmed the first 5 videos of this. I didn't do 6. I filmed 7, but I never uploaded it because I hadn't done 6 yet. So I think I'll redo that one. But I really want to go through all the stories in here so that I can utilize this deck's full potential. Because reading with this deck is, and first of all, I don't use this for love readings. I use this more for like work and career stuff. And I guess also for spiritual things. So each card in the majors is a different lovers couple. And so each of these stories has their own like moral and like something that we can take away from that story. And some of these I would read very differently, like the story in connection to the actual major card that it's combined with. And therefore, it's good to have these stories as like a second layer to all of this. And that just, for me, makes it a lot easier to read with this. And it also gives me additional things to pull from when I'm looking into a situation, because then the cards are telling me, okay, look into this story, and then I will find the part of the story that makes sense in combination with other cards. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this deck, and I just really want to explore all of it before really reading with it. So far, I've only used it twice for the readings that I did at the Empty Opera House. Another deck that I want to do a deep dive into is my Röhrig Tarot, and this is the Czech version here, because I do have this really good guidebook, which unfortunately has only been published in German, but it is really detailed. And the thing about this deck is that the artist has never spoken about this deck. He doesn't go into that because he only created it. For him, it was just about the artwork. It was never about the tarot process or anything that is related to tarot, because he is a member of Scientology, so it was just about the artwork. And so the guidebook, there's actually, I think, 2 guidebooks that exist. I have both of them. The other one is from when the deck originally came out, but it was also like in the front part of the book, it has an imaginary interview with the creator. So the person who wrote the interview kind of came up with his own answers to what the painter would say. It's not a real interview. And so the 2 people who wrote this book together, they have studied the deck for quite a while, and so this is their interpretations. But I have to say, like, this is really good. It goes into all the little things. Like, let me show you. In the beginning, like, it gives you these images, like little close-ups of some things are in the card. And for example, there's, what does it mean when there's clouds or keys or these swirly things, or if there's like a checkerboard floor, or if there are chains or feathers, mountains, gemstones, eyes, like what do these mean? Because they reappear throughout the entire deck. And they also do compare them to other cards from other systems, Thoth and RWS, and give plenty of examples. And so this is a really good book, and I wish this would have been published in other languages. So maybe once I go through this, I will do a review and talk about it on my channel, but that's probably not going to happen in 2023. So this is on my want-to-do list, but for later. And another tarot that I want to spend some quality time with, but that's also not going to happen anytime soon, is the Ananda Tarot. This is another German deck, and this one has been released ages ago. Let me think. No, let me see. I think it was 2001, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. The artist has already died. Yeah, first edition 2001. And this, it exists in German and English. The English version is extremely difficult to find. And there's just so much in this guidebook. So there's really pages upon pages for all the cards. And this is a very particular deck that I just want to devote some time to. It's Pippish with some illustrations. And this is not a deck that I'll just take out and I'll know immediately how to read with it. Because something that I found quite interesting is that the descriptions of the cards, no matter how seemingly bad the card is, even the Tower card has a very uplifting message to it. So that's what I find very interesting, that this is not all doom and gloom, that this actually shows you how to turn each and every situation into something that you can work with, something that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel with. And so that's why I really want to go through this guidebook with the cards, but that's going to take time, and that's also not going to happen in 2023. And one of my very first decks that I have is the Avalon Tarot, or I think in English it's called Legend Arthurian Tarot. And I got this one in 2000, so I've had it forever. And it also has a really nice guidebook, and each of the cards has their own story in it. And just like in the Lover's Path Tarot, there's always like, what is this card? This is the High Priestess. No, it's the Justice card. And it is the Lady of the Lake, for example. I'm not going to get the cards out now. And so there's always something about the cards in regards to tarot. And then it gives you a story about the people that are in the cards. And it even does that with the minors. So it gives you the card and the card descriptions, and then additional story stuff. So this is why this also deserves extra attention and some extra love, but also not in 2023. Okay. Let's see, where are we? So question number 6, what is your preferred deck style and has it changed over time? My preferred deck style is, well, my favorite publisher is Lo Scarabeo. And something that I really like is that a lot of their decks are like comic book style, cartoonish in a way. And I just love that. Ever since I discovered cartoons and comics and stuff, I have always been fascinated with pictures. Like I said in the very beginning, I'm a very visual person, and it goes back to my childhood. These kind of images, they have always been there. I always loved watching cartoons and anime and all of that. And to see that in the cards is also really nice. Like sometimes I don't care for actual painted pictures, like real life portraits or something. I prefer comic book style sometimes over anything else. And because you can also do much more with that, like stuff that would probably be very difficult to do in a photograph, for example. And yeah, so I just love the fantasy, the imagination part of it. And yeah, that hasn't really changed. Like I still love this kind of art style more than anything, but I do like other stuff too. I like collage decks. I yeah, I like decks with paintings like this, for example. These art paintings. I love nowadays even turning a little bit more to simplistic styles. But then again, also like this from the haunted house, that's exactly the kind of art style that I love. And so, yeah, that will probably never change. Number 7, which question would you never ask the tarot? For me personally, I would never ask about my death. Even if tarot could tell me that, I don't want to know how I'm going to die, when, and what's going to be involved in this whole thing. That is one question that I would never ask. For myself, everything else I would probably be okay with, but not about my death. Number 8, when you read for yourself, what do you look for? What kind of questions do you ask? So when I read for myself, for example, if I do the past life readings, it's to uncover things that I might still need to work on in this incarnation, or to make sense of certain things. For example, one thing that I did when I was going through the workbook that comes with the Art History for Past Lives tarot deck, uh, the 21 days, and it was a reading that always went back to the person I was reading on, myself, and the relationship with the father, and how that influenced that incarnation, and relating that back to my life and my relationship or non-existent relationship with my father. That really helped me to gain a very different perspective on the topic, and it resolved a lot of um, feelings that I had about the situation, and that was really helpful. Or when I read for myself, I check in with myself, like the current situation, what's going on. When I get a new deck, I don't do deck interviews anymore. When I get a new deck, I open it, and the first reading that I do, I usually just ask the deck, and most likely use the Celtic Cross for that. Tell me something about myself. So I want to know if the deck can actually see me the way that I see myself as well. And in that way, I also kind of find out what this deck might be good for, like if it's good for anything with feelings or work or spirituality, like where the emphasis is, things like that. I use tarot for shadow work and for psychological things, self-reflection, and yeah, to get to know myself better, to understand my path, my life better, basically. Number 9, after all the things you've learned about the tarot so far, is there something else about tarot you want to study, research, or learn? Well, the next thing on my list is getting into the thought system, which I haven't done so far. So that is definitely next. I don't think I'm ever going to go into Marseille. I think I'm just going to stick with RWS and Thoth. And I do want to go a lot deeper into Kabbalah and read a lot more books about the Tree of Life and in connection with tarot, because I'm just really interested in that. And there are a lot of good sources out there. There might also be some confusing sources out there. But yeah, finding my way through that is something that I really enjoy at this point in my life. And so, yeah, Golden Dawn, and going back to the beginning of how we tarot now in modern times, because I think it's very difficult for us to now say how, like, if tarot actually has been used in ancient Egypt, then it would be very difficult for us to pinpoint how they did that. But with the Golden Dawn, there's all these books and sources and research that we can actually consult to find out what they were thinking, how they set up the whole systems, and how they did it. And so going back to the point of origin of modern time tarot, that is what I want to devote my time to. And the last question, number 10, what advice would you give someone who's just starting to learn tarot? My advice would be it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you really want to learn tarot, it's going to take some time, and that's perfectly okay. It's like, this is not something when you read one book and then you think you know all the meanings, and maybe you read a book about reversals and then you know upright and reversals. No, that's not how it works. There is so much to discover with tarot, and it's a lifelong discovery. It's a lifelong journey. So if you really want to do tarot as like a student of tarot, take your time and enjoy the process and enjoy where it takes you, and the kind of things that you will get to know about yourself and others. And yeah, when it comes to reading for other people, set your boundaries. Know what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. That is, I think, one of the most important things, because if you get a question and you just don't want to answer it and you didn't tell the person beforehand, that can get kind of tricky. So yeah, be very clear about what is acceptable and what isn't. And if you don't want to do third-party readings, that's perfectly fine. If you are okay with doing them, then yeah, just state your boundaries and make that clear to whoever you're reading for, especially if money is involved. And otherwise, yeah, just enjoy it. Enjoy it. And there's now so many decks out there that everyone can find something according to their personal taste. We're not just limited to the classic RWS or Thoth or Marseille. We have so many other clones of each of the systems. And maybe if tarot is not for you, there's also other things like Lenormand or Kipper or Sibylla. There's other things out there. So just explore. Just yeah, enjoy. That's the best thing I could say. All right, so this was my 10 questions about how do you tarot. If anyone wants to do a video response, please let me know in the comments so that I can find your videos, because for some reason, when I enter a hashtag into the search bar on YouTube, it doesn't really show me other videos anymore. So if you do make a video, please leave me a comment. That way I can find it, because I would be very interested to hear your responses to this. And yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching this video and spending some time with me. And I hope you have a great start into the year 2023. And I'll see you next year. Happy New Year's. Bye.